Dear Docomomo Rehabilitation Award nominated, dear Docomomo Rehabilitation Award jury members, dear Mayor of Lisbon, Dr. Fernando Medina, dear Yoshiyuki Yamana, 16th Docomomo International Conference Chair, dear Kenji Watanabe, President of Docomomo Japan, dear Docomomo members, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Konnichiwa, or should I say, konbawa. Welcome to the Docomomo Rehabilitation Award ceremony held within the 16th Docomomo International Conference. It is a great pleasure to be with all of you around the world from Tokyo to Lisbon. Restrictions brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic forced a different shape for the award, but created an opportunity to assess its impact and agenda. This is to say, to learn from architectural conservation and reuse, while honor worldwide diversity in modern architecture, recognizing the most outstanding interventions from the past 12 years. First of all, I wish to thank the Docomomo working parties. 53 submissions from 25 chapters were received, 27 good practice fishes from the ISC registers data were identified, and 25 reviews and critical essays published at our strong media, the Docomomo Journal, were gathered. The jury, composed by Barry Bergdahl from Docomomo USA, and the advisory board members Horacio Torrent from Docomomo Chile, Scott Robertson from Docomomo Australia, Yoshiyuki Yamana from Docomomo Japan, Uta Potgieser, chair of the ISC Technology and vice chair of Docomomo Germany, and Ana Tostões, Docomomo International Chair, after considering carefully the diversity of the 84 entries and realizing the inspiring interventions all around the world, from Australia to Iran, Kosovo to Singapore, Mexico to South Africa, Spain to Switzerland, the jury decided to define categories in order to represent the best practices of rehabilitation from all over the world. So, including the range, diverse, and the dynamic conditions that architecture must engage today to enrich our lives. This way, the aim was to reveal how the heritage safeguarding can be accomplished in different settings and with varied means. Within this frame, the award has not only highlighted the canonical intervention on modern architectonic masterpieces, but recognized also the research, the maintenance process, the energy safe, sustainable approach, and low-cost safeguarding of everyday architecture. Summon as well actions conducted in adverse situations, engaging communities as agents of change. Hereby, the Docomomo Rehabilitation Award amplifies Docomomo's role in the documentation and conservation of the worldwide modern legacy, bringing into light the qualities and the importance of its reuse in contemporary life as a key tool for sustainability at a moment of global change and crisis. The Enhanced Masterpieces category aims to distinguish outstanding and deep interventions in renovating modern movement masterpieces while keeping the principles and the characters of these landmarks. The prize goes to the magnificent renovation of the NEUE National Gallery in Berlin, conducted by David Chipperfield, designed by Mies van der Rohe between 1965 and 1968. The renovation aimed to be an invisible imprint. If one dared to say, thinking as Mies would have done. As Chipperfield just declared, there's only one architect in the NEUE National Gallery, I'm quoting. The jury decided by unanimity to award Sir David Chipperfield for the technical and functional renovation of a worldly renowned masterpiece, bringing the NEUE National Gallery to the present and into the future. David Chipperfield, please receive our congratulations for having transformed it in a truly contemporary museum of art, while heightening the Miesian spatial performance. The jury decided as well to recognize in this category the renovation of the YOYOGI National Gymnasium in Tokyo, carried out by Tange Associates and Kume Sekai between 2018 and 2020. This is a case where the same office is still on working, assuming the restoration of the YOYOGI Gymnasium, a landmark and a symbol of Japan, being this renovation an extraordinary example on how to intervene surgically in order to reinforce the structure and update spaces. Lasting heritage category recognizes exemplary practices that consider conservation and maintenance plans as key tools for defying the effects of time. The jury was unanimous on awarding Alan Crocker Conservation Management Plan for the Sydney Opera House. Idealized by Jorn Knudsen in 1965 and carried out by Hall, Todd, and Little, Moore, and Over Arup, the Sydney Opera House is a work in progress, continuously evolving, integrated in 2007 into the UNESCO World Heritage List. Exemplary updating the guidelines of the previous 3 conservation management plan to the contemporary demands, the plan manages to perpetuate the design principles. The jury recognized as well the Yale Center for British Arts in New Haven conservation plan by Peter Inskip and Stephen Gee, and translated in Knight's Architecture's Conservation Project. Designed by Louis Kahn, it was never completely finished until its conservation. The harmonization of Inskip and Gee's conservation plan, establishing the guidelines to approach the building with Knight's detailed conservation project, is the secret for the completion and transcendence, safekeeping of Kahn's presence in the Yale Center for British Arts. The engaged societies category aims to emphasize innovative researches applied to current architecture, such as housing complexes, ensembles, involving institutional and community engagement. In this category, the jury decided to award the rehabilitation research project conducted by Franz Graf and Giulia Marino in the scope of the laboratory SAM, Techniques Sauvegarde Architecture Modern, in the EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, ensuring the preservation of the Cité du Lignon in Geneva, a huge housing neighborhood built between 63 and 71, according to Ador and Julliard and Louis Payot project. Thanks to EPFL SAM project, it was possible to engage a joint effort between the academic experts, public authorities, and private owners, being a pioneering managed to develop a catalog of solutions for the refurbishment of the window frames according to zones, capable of envisioning their different financial means, proving the advantage of this renovation over demolition, while respecting the facade's original identity and improving energy saving. The jury decided to award also the restoration of the Serpentine House in Helsinki, carried out by Kati Salonen and Mona Shalin between 2016 and 2020. Dating for 1950, this housing complex was designed by Finnish architect Jorjo Lindegren. The Serpentine House is exemplary of the rightful management of state-held housing with the involvement of the interdisciplinary and intercommunitarian commitment. It is to underline the fact that the Helsinki City Councils realize the importance of the qualities inherent to this more ordinary heritage and the advantage that its refurbishment might bring to the society. The metamorphosed functions category recognizes exemplary works that safeguard the distinctive identities of modern buildings while allowing them to be adapted in use and form to contemporary needs. In this category, the jury gives the prize to the intervention in the municipal orphanage of Amsterdam, developed by WDG Architecten. Translating Aldo van Eyck's design principles, the orphanage was built from 55 to 60. The project is illustrative of an outstanding action of adaptive reuse, respecting and improving the building's original identity. Initially an orphanage, the building was forced to metamorphose into several new functions over time. Now, used as office spaces, the renovation has masterfully brought back the original essence of the building through the reposition of distinctive lost features. The jury agreed as well in distinguish the retrofit project of the Yamanashi Press and Broadcasting Center in Kofu, Japan. The retrofit project from Tange Associates, reinforcing the seismic resistance of the former metabolist building by Kenzo Tange. Threatened by the invisible fear of a future seismic catastrophe, Tange Associates were commissioned to develop the highly expensive and challenging seismic retrofit project. Surgically acting at the second basement level, each one of the 16 infrastructure shafts were isolated and so prevented the need for a visible reinforcement compromising its aesthetic. The educating practices category aims to acknowledge pioneering studies and low-budget interventions that contributed to raising the awareness for preserving the modernist legacy in adverse locations and conditions. The jury decided to award the restoration of AITON Court in Johannesburg, undertaken by Mayat Hart Architects between 2012 and 2014. Originally designed by Bernard Cook and Angus Stewart, this apartment building is paradigmatic of the proliferation of the wide acceptance of Le Corbusier's 5 points of architecture worldwide. AITON Court's restoration has set a valuable benchmark for the private initiative, dealing with maintenance and so revealing an awareness on modern movement heritage. Faced with severe deterioration and having a low budget, especially since it was used for low-income rentals, its private owners still wanted to proceed with its restoration. Based on the full social and architectural documentation of the building undertaken by students from the University of the Witwatersrand, Mayat Hart Architects restoration project was cleverly developed, turning possible to arrive to an affordable solution that balanced heritage responsibilities, living conditions, and commercial needs. It is one of the first pioneering examples of an affordable and yet respectful restoration carried out in Africa. In this category, the jury decided to recognize as well the restoration of the CASA Estúdio para Artistas in Buenos Aires, conducted in the public realm by the Dirección General de Regeneración Urbana in 2016-2017, under the management of Flavia Rinaldi, bringing back in Buenos Aires the building shine of Antonio Bonet, Horacio Vera Barros, and Abel Lopes Chas projects from 1938-39. Aware of the need of restoring the building's facades, the Buenos Aires city authorities included in their urban regeneration program. This way, this public initiative has set a pioneering example for the valorization and safekeeping of this 20th century architecture and its inclusion in a much wider urban program. The preserved vanguards category highlights restorations able to bring back the lost innovative features of the fragile and experimental vanguard creations, while improving them to resist. The jury decided to award in this category the restoration of the Casa O'Gorman in Mexico City, by Victor Jimenez in 2012-2013, bringing back to light the singular architecture of Juan O'Gorman's project from 1929. The restoration of Casa O'Gorman is a lesson of how to perpetuate the fragile vanguard's characteristics, successfully re-establishing the experimental creativity of the original house, both reinforcing its structure and reintroducing the lost original features. The architectonic Mexican avant-garde can now be appreciated, working as part of the exhibition spaces of the House Studio Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo Museum. The jury distinguished as well, in this category, the Hipódromo de la Zarzuela in Madrid for its renovation by Junquera Arquitectos in 2018-2020. Outstanding for its cantilever roof conceived by Eduardo Torroja, together with the architects Carlos Arniches, Martín Domínguez in 1935. The renovation constitutes a successfully achieved example for the safekeeping of experimental large concrete structures, faced not only with its severe structural deterioration, as also with its substantial modifications. Junquera Arquitectos were able to restore the racecourse distinctive identity while updating it to the contemporary times. The sustained uses category aims to recognize exemplary renovations introducing contemporary standards of security requirements, sustainable conditions, and improved technologies, keeping the building's function and identity. In this category, the prize goes to the renovation of the Grand Auditorium of the CALOUSTE Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon, a project from Teresa Nunes da Ponte from 2013 and 2014. As part of the CALOUSTE Gulbenkian Foundation building and garden complex, the Grand Auditorium was conceived by Pessoa, Cid, and Atoguia in 1959. The renovation is a prime example of an invisible technical update set to maintain untouched the unique character of its space, at the same time smooth and monumental. With an ingenious attitude, the emblematic Gesamtkunstwerk space of the Grand Auditorium is, after the restoration and renovation project, not only equipped with the latest technology for energy, thermal, acoustic, lighting, and performative functions, as also compliant with current safety standards. The jury decided as well to award the renovation of CARTIERA BURGO in Mantua by Massimo Narduso and Creare team. The masterpiece of Pierluigi Nervi from 1961 is still in function as an industrial paper mill. It sets an important lesson on the renovation of the normally disregarded functional typology, the industrial program. The renovation project is exemplary in both its technical update and its rescue of long-lost characteristic features due to a fire in 1974. Thanks to the perception of its owner towards the importance of preserving such an unique building, it is now a factory equipped with the latest paper industry technology where NEUE's mystic can again be lived and admired. Conservation through activism category aims to identify interventions that result of people or group action promoting the awareness of modern heritage while spreading the concepts of a welfare proposal. By unanimity, the jury gives the award to the creation of the ISOKON Gallery as part of the restoration of the ISOKON building in London by Avanti Architects. Preserving the remarkable building designed by YALE Coates in 1933, the ISOKON and ISOKON Gallery are an impressive benchmark for the engaged communities as agents of change. Highly deteriorated 20 years ago, the activist spirit of Nothing Hill Home Ownership, ISOKON Trust, and Avanti Architects led to the acquisition and secured for the future. Avanti Architects project has recovered the original splendor while updating it to contemporary requirements. To reinforce the impact of the ISOKON legacy, a small museum on its history operated by the ISOKON Gallery Trust was created in the old garage of the building, extending the conservation into an active program of education and information. The Trenton Bus House and Day Camp Pavilions restoration was as well distinguished by the jury. Mills and Schoenering architects brought back to life the original design of Louis Kahn and Nineteen. The multiple efforts for the promotion and restoration are an example for the preservation of small, meaningful built legacies. After years of abandonment, its listing on the Preservation New Jersey's 10 most endangered list, and later the development of a monography, an exhibition, and a film raised public awareness for its safekeeping. So, public authorities bought the building and engaged Mills Schoenering architects for the carefully outline and implementation of the building and landscape restoration plan. Retaining Louis Kahn's and Anting's original design, the architect's intervention gave back to the complex its original functional and spirit. The open house category aims to recognize practices in the restoration of remarkable modern houses that are now open to public. The jury gives the prize to Le Corbusier's apartment studio restoration, considering the valuable model for both the safeguarding and physical documentation of an exceptional evolving domestic space. The Fondation Le Corbusier anticipated the needed restoration with the research of the apartment studio different layers in time, which was then followed by Châtillon Architects Conservation Project. Conscient of the many transformations that this place had throughout the Le Corbusier's life there during several years. In fact, it is like an alive museum of Le Corbusier's and his wife daily life. The design team restored it, leaving open scars that signal and document past layers of experiment. It is awarded as well the restoration of Villa Tugendhat in Brno, carried out between 2010 and 2012 by a team named Villa Tugendhat Association, after an architectural restoration competition launched by the city of Brno. The aim was to not only restore the building, but also assure its preservation as a masterpiece of Mies van der Rohe from the late 20s, which represents the tragic struggle story of a dark chapter of the world. Villa Tugendhat's restoration to its original state, removing the adulteration added after the family's departure under the Nazis' persecution, establishes a remarkable example on how to respectfully address a world-renowned Gesamtkunstwerk. Based on the investigation of the original documents and the remaining original fabric of the house, following a deep research conducted by Ivo Hammer, as well as the commitment of Docomomo taking part during the construction site in the Experts International Committee, TICOM, the restoration was able to recover Mies' essence. Their accuracy and commitment to the re-establishment of every detail, from the technical equipment to the furniture and the door handle, has finally allowed the visitors to truly experience the house, honoring the wish of the owner Greta Tugendhat and be inspired by Miesian space. Finally, the committed personality category aims to stress exemplary lifetime achievement on the promotion of the modern movement's legacy. The jury decided to distinguish Winfried Brenner because he represents the synthesis of the outstanding lifetime achievements of one personality towards the preservation of the values of modernity in architecture. Throughout his career, he has been developing a continuous work on modern movements' legacy. In a rare embracing attitude, Brenner has since early on joined together the pleasure of practice, research, and defense, addressing a large and transversal set of buildings. From world-renowned icons as the Bauhaus Dessau or the Meister houses, to the Lieblich house restoration in Tel Aviv in Israel, or to more modest housing estates as the Waldsiedlung Zellendorf or the Hannes Meyer Bernau amazing building, Brenner has always invariably shown the same degree of commitment and intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Docomomo congratulates the winners and thanks all our partners, institutional members, Docomomo members, and especially in this occasion, our major sponsor, the Lisbon municipality that hereby made the Lisbon Docomomo International mandate possible. We do believe and we wish that the Docomomo Rehabilitation Award amplifies Docomomo International's role in the documentation and conservation of the modern legacy, bringing into light qualities and the importance of its reuse in contemporary life as a key tool for sustainability at the moment of global change. Thank you very much for your attention.